everybody's wondering, it's just on my couch. It's about 18 feet from here. NBA Finals, Bucks Suns, Game 1 from Phoenix. The biggest question heading in, Giannis' status. As of this morning, he is listed as doubtful, dealing with that hyperextended knee from Game 4 in the last round. He did some on-court work yesterday, but it seems more unlikely than likely that he will play tonight. So, Nick, what are the chances the Bucks can win Game 1 without Giannis?
Not great. I don't like their chances at all for Game 1 without Giannis. And if they would have rushed Giannis back and forced him into the game, I wouldn't have loved their chances in Game 1 anyway, because Phoenix has actually been at their best in Game 1s, and Milwaukee's been at their worst. You look at Phoenix's playoff run, the one time they beat the full-strength Lakers, or full-ish strength Lakers, was Game 1. They then blew out the Nuggets in Game 1 of that series, and Devin Booker had arguably, one of the two best games of his playoff life in Game 1 against the Clippers with no Chris Paul. The Bucks, on the other hand, Game 1 against Miami was the only game against Miami they almost lost. It took overtime for them to win that. They got beat soundly in Game 1 against Brooklyn. And in Game 1 against Atlanta, they lost, and Trae Young almost had 50. I think he had 47 and 11 in that game. So you don't have Giannis. Phoenix, once again, to their credit, and because they've earned it, not only is it home for this game, but also is the more rested of the teams. For all those reasons, I think Phoenix wins Game 1. Now, I don't think it means Phoenix wins the series, but Brandon, I think your Suns, which Brandon is like an incredibly charitable foster parent. He's just adopting teams left and right. There is Nets, there's his Clippers. We were wondering all of a sudden, is there going to be anyone else? Now Brandon's Suns have come along for the ride. I think your Suns, Brandon, win tonight. I think they win tonight.
Yeah, listen. When everyone in America is saying, oh, the Suns, we shouldn't be talking about the Suns. When nobody wanted to talk about them 4 months ago, yeah, I stood up for them. I'm that type of guy. If I see someone being bullied in the playground, I'm going to stand up for them. And all of a sudden, the kid that was getting bullied is now in the NBA Finals. Look, Nick, I guess they have a chance as far as the Bucks. No Giannis, that's a big problem. I mean, if the Suns, if they have 20 turnovers, and we're talking about PJ Tucker brings back that corner three that was left in Houston 2 years ago. I mean, have we seen that? And this guy Drew Holiday or Middleton, if they drop 50, we seen KD do it against the series against the Bucks. Game 5, 49 points, and he got it done by himself. I mean, that's the only chance they have, Wiles, if those guys go slap off, and then you have the Suns who do the unthinkable. If the Suns do what they haven't really done all year, and that's turn the ball over, and that's play bad basketball. Now, of course, they lost games, but it's rare that you see the Suns just play bad basketball. So I got to go with the Suns in this one. I don't think they have a chance. And, Nick, you can go out there, and Wiles, if Nick wants to go out there and say, I don't think they win the series. Well, Nick, you need to hurry up and pick. I don't know if we're going to do that, Wiles, later on in the show, but I'm waiting to hear who Nick is going with. Yeah, okay.
Well, keep waiting. You're going to get to hear it. Don't worry. Go ahead, Wiles.
That's not how TV works, Brandon. You don't just give out, Best Picture, Academy Award star. Best Picture goes to the party. Like, okay, turn the channel. It'll come. It's a slow drag out. Okay, here's the answer. A little better than you think. The Bucks have a little better chance than you were thinking at home. Here's why. 2 reasons. One is the paint. The other is the 3. In the paint, when the Suns played the Bucks, they were outscored in the paint by 50 points. It's the biggest differential from any team that they had played. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wilds, that's because Giannis killed him in the paint. Yes, you're right, and Giannis isn't playing. So you have to take Giannis out and put in the old ghost of Brook Lopez, who came out and was like, yeah, guys, guess what? I don't just shoot threes. I can also get in there and do damage against the Hawks. So if he can replicate that performance in the paint like he did against the Hawks, he could really eat up Ayton and the Suns. Here's the other thing about the threes. In their 2 games, Nick, Devin Booker took 45 shots. That's good, right? Takes a lot of mid-range, takes a lot of, gets to the hole, takes a lot of threes. Wrong. only took 8 threes because Chris Middleton wasn't letting him have it. So I think that's going to be an issue. If it's one thing to like the mid-range game, be like, it's back, and he's got an all-versatile game. It's another thing to be forced into the mid-range game because Middleton's length and overall defense has taken the shot away from you. So I think that the Bucks have a decent chance. They've got some momentum with this team playing without Giannis. If they can dominate the paint and limit Booker from 3, I think they have a better chance than everybody thinks.
All right, so I like your second point. I actually think the right strategy is the exact opposite of your first point. I think that if they're going to try to, of course they're going to try, but I think in order to win game 1, Wilds, it has to be total bombs away from 3, and that involves, Brandon alluded to it, putting P.J. Tucker on the bench for game 1 and starting Pat Connaughton. I think that if the Bucks are going to win game 1, it has to be that we are going to go not 4 out, we are going to go 5 out. So Brook Lopez can still play. So you can keep Brook Lopez on the court so he can guard Ayton on the defensive end. But on the offensive end, if you go 5 out, you all of a sudden, DeAndre Ayton is going to be in unfamiliar waters because you're going to have guys, if you surround him with shooters. If you put P.J. Tucker on the court, then Ayton can still kind of stay by the rim and pretend guard P.J. Tucker like teams used to do with Tony Allen. So that would be my strategy if I were the Bucks for game 1. But Brandon, hold on 1 second, Brandon, because I want to show you something real quick. Because I do think there has been a little... I'm not going to convince you on the series, but I'm going to think I might be able to convince you on a player. I don't think there's been quite enough respect put on what Chris Middleton has done these playoffs. Just show Chris Middleton compared to Devin Booker. Like, has Booker been better?
Right.
Yeah, but barely. He's scoring 3.5 more points per game. But he's not rebounding as much. The assists are basically even, and the field goal percentages are almost identical. Now, Booker has 2 40-point games, but Middleton's got 3 35-plus point games. And so Booker's explosions have been, larger, but Middleton's actually had 1 more. The reason I bring it up, Brandon, is for a night, can Chris Middleton give the Bucks what Devin Booker gives the Suns? Yeah, I think he can. For a night, could Drew Holiday, mitigate Chris Paul to a degree? Possibly. Now, I actually think that night is more likely to be game 2 than game 1. But I think the Bucks, they got a heartbeat without Giannis. They can't win the series, obviously, without him. But on a one-off, to Wilds' point, I don't think it's a game that is going to be over at halftime.
Listen, we put a lot of respect on Chris Middleton's name on this show. Hell, there's times where we even threw him in a conversation, him and Giannis in a conversation with Kobe and Shaq. So we've definitely thrown a lot of respect on his name. But that is the difference, Nick, is he hasn't had a 45-point night. He hasn't gone off like that, and he absolutely needs to have a game like that to help his team out. Here's the deal. I just want to be clear here, Jenna, before we move on. The Suns are the better team with or without Giannis. Let's go back to the regular season. Giannis averaged 40 points. Wilds, you talked about that. You talked about how he dominated in the paint, and they still lost. Now, Nick might come out because he's the historian. He's the show, the resident archivist, and he's going to say, oh, they only won by 1. They only won by 1. But at the end of the day, they won. They dominated the series. They
dominated the series.
The Suns are still a little
by 1 point twice. That's not quite dominating the series. One of them was in overtime. And they were
Semantics by Brandon Marshall. It's just semantics. So to recap, once again, Giannis still listed as doubtful for game 1 tonight. What are his finals MVP chances if he does in fact miss time? We'll tell you. First things first on a Tuesday morning.